Hey guys, this is Brook. Hi, I'm a guitar teacher in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. My first guitar looked just like this, or pretty close. I think this design might have been a little different, but it was very similar. This has a Tysco or Checkmate. Oh, I thought it was Tysco. Okay, this says Checkmate on it. Steel reinforced neck, made in Korea. Very familiar. So yeah, I was really surprised when I opened the box at Christmas time and had a guitar. I was about age 14 and I was pretty excited. So I didn't really know anything about guitar and I really wasn't planning on learning, but my mom decided to get me a guitar. So that was a really great thing. So there's a lot of positive memories of this instrument. But there's some memories that are not so positive because it's a pretty terrible guitar. Uh, the frets are tiny. The fretboard is kind of convex instead of concave. Well, no, it just feels weird. You just can't. Anyway, this guitar's been at my friend's shop for a year trying to get the neck straight, and he had it in clamps trying to bend it into good shape. There's no truss rod adjustment on it, so the neck was kind of bent this way, and it didn't. These, he said, are kind of put together with super glue, and they don't take to persuasion. You can't persuade them to be straight. But I'm going to try to remember what it was like to start guitar lessons. So, and I did. This is tuned down a whole step because the action's so terrible. If we put acoustic strings on it and tuned it up to standard pitch, the neck would just go way over that way. So that's what I used to do, is put electric strings on it just to make it play easier. And I think this guitar taught me to really not prefer acoustic. When I got into electric guitars, I was much more, there seemed to be many more possibilities with that electric. And I still kind of feel that way. So the first thing we learned at guitar lessons was like E, F, G, which was like this. We did some sight reading on E, F, G. I can't remember what we learned. Then we did B, C, D. And then the third string, G, A. Which I learned. Ooh, I got to the E. So that's one song I taught myself sight reading anyway. So I learned to read a few notes and then I quickly forgot. Another song that we learned was this. Oops. 4 and 20 blackbirds. Okay. So I kind of like that end part. I thought that was a pretty good maneuver. So, sight reading taught me possibilities about phrasing, I guess. As far as chords, I was taught the first chord I was taught was a C major. Hear that sound? Pretty depressing. I'm going to try to tune it one more time. This thing never stayed in tune. So I had to tune constantly, and of course there was no tuner to look at. It was all by ear. So I got almost good at tuning, but it was really frustrating. All right, so the first chord, let's see how the C sounds. All right, and then we learned G7, so you can kind of do. Kind of good foundation stuff. We probably learned D, and D7, and G, which might have been like this, or this. Not that. We learned then F. That was murder. See, it was never in tune. You could never really tune this guitar, no matter what you do. It was just really frustrating. But so I really preferred electric. But I learned, this is where I learned stuff like, you know, I always like to recreate experimenting with notes, going like, I'm like, that sounds stupid. I hate that. Sounds like Black Sabbath. It sounds kind of gnarly. The E, G, A, or E and G. Hate that. Terrible. And until I learned like E, G, and D. That sounded cool. Maybe a B in there. I probably went up there. I'm like, that sounds good. What? So that's how I got started. Eventually, I don't know how I got playing on such a frustrating instrument, but I stuck with it, you know. So eventually learned like, or that kind of stuff, you know, rock and roll rhythm. The riff that I still teach, stuff like so I got to give my friend Ian a big thanks for trying to help this guitar. My mom kept wanting me to, we kept my old guitar in the attic at my folks' house, and she kept wanting me to take it home, and I really didn't want it. I just hated it, really. It was a bad memory. But I eventually took it home, and it was splitting, like separating, you know, all the wood was, the top was coming unglued. It was just falling apart. So I sold it at a garage sale for $5, and I feel kind of guilty about that. It was just basically a bad memory, but I like to try to relive it. Maybe I was wrong, or maybe I was right. I don't know. So what was your first guitar like? It can't have been this bad. Yeah, the strings were a mile high, but my friend Ian brought the action down the best you could possibly do. Lowered the action at the bridge, and it looks like he filed the nut slots down really nice, and got the string radius pretty good. And I'll probably keep it on the wall. There is a guy talking to me about buying it, which I'm a little on the fence. I try not to be nostalgic, but it's kind of like my roots, where I came from, so What do you think? Should I keep it or sell it? I don't really love it. All right. What was your first guitar?